Everything I believed about my life collapsed the day I heard my dead husband speak in a grocery store. 6 months earlier, I had buried the man I loved after 41 years of marriage. I had spent every day learning to survive without him, convinced that grief was something I simply had to carry forever. Then I turned down an aisle and heard the voice I thought I would never hear again. When I looked up, there he was. The same silver hair, the same scar above his eyebrow, the same crooked finger he had broken as a teenager. It was impossible, yet he was standing only a few feet away as if nothing had happened. I rushed toward him with tears streaming down my face and called his name, expecting him to embrace me. Instead, he looked confused and calmly told me I had mistaken him for someone else. He introduced himself as Daniel and insisted he had never seen me before. I showed him old family photos, hoping they would trigger his memory, but he denied knowing me. Even though his words rejected me, every detail of his face and body proved he was my husband. When he walked away, I followed him because I knew I was not imagining what I had seen. He drove to a quiet neighborhood where a woman welcomed him home with a kiss on the cheek. 2 children ran outside calling him Grandpa while he laughed exactly the way he always had. Watching him live another life shattered everything I believed. I secretly photographed the house and returned home unable to sleep. The next morning I called my son and told him his father was alive. He assumed grief had finally broken me, but after seeing the photos he reluctantly agreed to visit the house with me. The moment my son saw the man, his face turned pale. Instead of denying it, he broke down crying and confessed a truth more painful than death. My husband had never died for more than 20 years. He had secretly lived a double life with another family. When he decided he wanted to leave me without losing his wealth, he created a horrifying plan. He arranged for a terminally ill homeless man to die using his identity. Because the body was badly damaged, the funeral was held with a closed casket, allowing everyone to believe my husband had died in the accident. The deepest betrayal came when my son admitted he had known about the affair for years and had helped hide the truth. He explained that most of the family money had been secretly transferred into fake accounts before the staged death. After the funeral, he inherited everything and planned to support me with an allowance while his father disappeared forever under a new identity. Listening to my own son admit he had watched me mourn a stranger for 6 months felt like losing my family all over again. Instead of confronting them immediately, I chose patience. I hired a private investigator who uncovered fake identity documents, hidden bank accounts, property records, and nearly $2 million transferred before the fake accident. The investigation also revealed countless phone calls between my husband and my son before and after the funeral, proving they had planned the deception together. With every page of evidence, my heartbreak slowly transformed into determination. I hired an experienced attorney who confirmed that this was not simply adultery but a criminal conspiracy involving identity fraud, forgery, financial theft, and deception. Following her advice, I secretly recorded a conversation with my son during lunch. Believing I had accepted the truth, he openly admitted how the money had been moved, how documents had been signed, and how the fake death had been organized. His own words became the final piece needed to build an airtight legal case. Within days, criminal complaints were filed, warrants were issued, and my son was arrested for his role in the scheme. The fake identity my husband had used was legally canceled, his accounts were frozen, and investigators closed in on him. I finally visited the home where he had been hiding. Standing face to face, I handed him legal papers exposing everything. The woman he had lived with for decades stood nearby as I calmly revealed that I was still his lawful wife, and that the man she knew had spent years living a lie. His carefully built world collapsed in seconds as police sirens approached the house. A few weeks later, my husband suffered a fatal heart attack while awaiting trial. His death no longer brought me grief because the man I had loved had already disappeared long before. The courts recovered the stolen assets, restored what belonged to me, and sentenced my son to prison for financial fraud and forgery. Although I still loved him as my child, I refused to let love erase accountability. Months later, I transformed my home, rebuilt my life, and finally found peace. I visited the cemetery one last time, not to mourn my husband but to say goodbye to the woman who had spent decades believing loyalty meant accepting silence. That grave never held the man I loved. It held the illusion I had lived under for 41 years. Walking away from it, I realized the greatest victory was not revenge. It was reclaiming my dignity, choosing truth over comfort, and proving that even after unimaginable betrayal, it is never too late to begin again.